All right, here we have, the basic tools you're going to need. A couple of tire irons, a wrench, for your bead, lock, tire pressure gauge for when everything goes well, a valve core remover, a nut for your tube, and a spray bottle of some kind of lubricant. This is soapy water, which I like to use. It's not the best lubricant, but it seems to work pretty well and dries out quickly. Additional tools to make the job easier: a better valve core remover, a bead holder. You'll see where that comes into play later when remounting the tire. And sometimes, especially if you don't have a bead holder, a third tire iron's very helpful and very useful. In addition to that, we have a tire stand. This gets the wheel up off the ground. You'll see it helps take the tire off easier. If you don't have one of these, you can use a 5-gallon bucket to work on, but then you're down on your hands and knees. If you don't have a 5-gallon bucket, you're at the track, whatever, you can just change a tire on the ground without a stand. Okay, we've got the wheel off the bike, so let's get into it. First, take your valve cap off. And if you do have a nut on the outside, it should not be tight. It should just be finger tight. If it's too tight, it'll rip the valve stem out of the wheel when the wheel starts to turn. So it's really, if you do put one on the outside, just to protect from dirt and debris getting into the tire. So the rubber boots the factory gives you are way better than an actual metal nut. Now I've got that off. Let's go to the opposite side, or if you have a different brand, it's right next to it, and loosen up the rim lock. You'll see I have a ratcheting wrench. I like those just because it makes life quick and easy. Regular wrench, deep wall socket, I guess you can use whatever you have handy. Now we're going to loosen up this nut, but we're not going to take it all the way off. We take our valve core remover, pull the valve core, let the air out of the tire. Okay, this time you're going to break down the bead of the tire. So what we're going to use right here is a handy little bead breaker. It's very important when doing this. You never want to work against the rim lock. So you want the rim lock 90 degrees off where you're breaking the bead. So you line it up, not too close to the rim because you don't want to dent your rim like I just did. Push down nice and hard, pops it right off. And then it'll pop, you can just push it off by hand the rest of the way around. You need to do this on both sides. Okay, I'm gonna go back up on. Now I'm gonna flip it over. There's a reason why. Teeth are sharp and they hurt when they bite. The rotor's not as bad. So you always want to work on the tire, at least on the difficult parts. Rotor side up, sprocket side down. Far less painful that way. Sometimes the rim lock gets stuck. You can't push it in by hand. Use an iron, force it in. Nice and easy. Get our irons here. And I like to start just past the rim lock. You always work from the rim lock to make life easier. So get our tire down and in. Go about 3-4 inches away. And I stick the second one in. Pull the first one up, like so. Your second one started, pull them out. Keeping your first one in place, pop this guy out, or if you have the third, that's where he comes in handy. Go again. Again, not too far down. We don't want to beat up the tire or do too much work. We're just coming down a couple inches. Now you notice here, we're at the valve stem. You don't want to go and grate directly on the valve stem, you might tear it out. So if you can, push the valve stem back, go past a little bit, pull up. to make sure you don't pinch your tube. And as you go around, it gets much easier. And you notice I'm taking off bigger and bigger bites. Okay, halfway there. Again, do the exact same thing we've already done. Get inside, onto the rim lock, pull it off the whole way around. And pull it up, about 4 inches over. Again, we want to watch the valve stem so we don't pinch the tube. Flip her over the fighter. We have the tire off on both sides. If you've done it right, it should start falling off on its own. You should push down real hard to get her to go. Push our valve stem in. Make sure that's out of the way. Keep pushing. There. Be able to pull it right out. There we are. At this point in time, I pull my tube out of my used tire. Here you want to inspect your tube, but you don't inspect it for wear. This one has a fair amount of wear on the edges. You can see the lines of the tire, the rubber wearing off. I use super heavy duty tubes. I like them, they hold up well. So we're going to go ahead and reuse this tube anyway, even though it's worn and properly should be replaced. Next thing you want to do is inspect your rim. You're looking and removing dirt and debris. You'll notice I've removed the factory rim strip and replaced it with duct tape. This is actually a pro trick. Some pros just go straight duct tape. Other pro mechanics do duct tape and then put the rim strip over it. What's nice about duct tape only is you don't fight it getting the valve stem back in, because you just got a hole and then it stays in place. It doesn't move around like a rim strip will. You can put it on a wire wheel to remove all the dirt and debris to get it all nice and clean. Lay it right there and go and get your new tire. Okay, I lay the tire right on the rim and I do a quick visual inspection. Some tires are directionals. You want to look for an arrow telling you which way to go. This is not a good tire, but good tires will have often a nice little yellow circle somewhere. If you line that up with the valve stem, that's supposed to balance the tire. Dirt bikes, balanced wheels aren't a big deal, but on your car or street bike it is. At this point in time, we're going to go ahead and put the tube in. We're going to stuff the tube back in. You can often use a little baby powder to make the tube slide better. And now, we're going to put the valve core back in. It's to have air in the tube. Too much air and you fight it, push it down. Not enough air in, the tube will pinch. Okay, now we're going to loop the tire. Starting on the rim lock side, pushing it through. Then we take our irons. These irons have a nice hook, so that's where I use the other side of the hook. Get under there, pop her over. I don't quite have enough air in the tube. That makes this easier to push the valve core off to the side. And then this will be easier for you because your hands probably work. You don't want to take too big of a bite in this situation, if you do, you'll break the belts in your tire. So just because you are big and strong enough to muscle it doesn't mean you should. There we are, popped on. Now, as you can see, we've gotten pretty lucky. The valve core popped right out. That, without a doubt, a gracious gift from God that normally doesn't happen. Normally what happens is you end up with your hand up inside the tire trying to line it up and push it through. Sometimes you start fighting, you push it from the other side, use a small screwdriver to pop it through the hole. That's just about perfect. Lines up in a square with the rim. We don't want it at a big angle. That may damage it. So we are all set and good to go. Again, lots of lubricant. Okay, here's now where we're going to put a little air inside that tube. Barely any. I had to tighten that nut. I'm going to loosen to get the air in it. Loosen that nut right back up. Show you that in a second. Now, we've been starting just past the rim lock. This time we're going to start just before it. Stick our 2 wrenches in. Get our irons where we want them spread out. Bob them down. Now we use our rim lock holder, our rim holder. Put it right there. If you don't have that, that's where the third tire iron functions. You latch it over and you pull it and hold it, and it works fairly well. But this tool makes life so much easier. Now go past your rim lock, and at this point you'll want to push your rim lock in. Just use your hand if you're strong enough. I'm not, so I'm going to use the iron. Pushed it in. So now I know the rim lock is inside the tire where it belongs. Go over here, a few inches, again, not too much. Don't want to break the belt in your tire. If you noticed on the rim, there's just inside the bead where the tire goes, and it's seated, caved in more further down. In the mounting process, you want the tire mounted further down. We do not want it beaded here. So if it rides up, push it down with your hand until it pops in that groove like you just saw. That gives the tire a little more room, makes working on the other side easier. A lot less likely to then break the belt in your tire, pinch a tube, whatnot. And it's just a lot less effort. Okay. We're zipping right along with the easy part. Barely sticking the iron in. Just till we feel that latch so we don't pinch the tube. If you shove it in too forcefully, you'll end up putting a hole in your tube. And the point where that was maybe a little too much of a bite. So if you can push her down again. There we go. And this is where the air pressure matters. Too much air pressure, you fight it too much. This is where the lubricant really makes a big difference. So just using soapy water like I have, fighting it more than if I had like a nice tire lube. Slow and steady. If you're lucky, this last one will just pop on. We didn't get that lucky this time. Just gonna slide it in. Barely go over. She's to slide right down. Beautiful. Now we come back over here to our bead holder. A little on this side, a little more on this side. Pry it down, pull it out. Love to say we're done, but we're not quite there. We're tighten this up so we can get air into it. Nice amount of air to get the bead to pop. Again, here's where lubricant is important. The more lubricant, the easier the tire's going to pop up onto the bead where it belongs. But you never want to air it up with your face over the sidewall like this. If the tire does blow out from air pressure, it's blowing out on here. So then hold the tire up like this and stand on the side while you put air in it for safety's sake. You'll notice I ran my finger around the edge, making sure it's beaded. You can see that line right there and that group. That's the bead. That's where we want it. We're set the whole way around. We're all beaded up. We're all set where we need to be. Let's tighten up the rim lock. Here, I normally put a little never seize on these just because I'm always afraid they're going to get locked up. Now if you're professional, use a torque wrench. Right, go till tight. They will tighten down too tight. Do not do that. It'll damage your wheel. Got the rim lock on. Got the tire pressure set because it has way too much air in it. Now we're good to go. Ready to put on the back of the bike and go riding.